going on? I want to expound on this on the circle, on a sphere shape. Like, see what's crazy is, let me see this here. It's like, all right, there's patterns in nature, like little patterns that describe a greater pattern. It's kind of like if you watch a smoke whirl around in a spiral. Spiral's kind of weird because it's like a pattern of it's a circle that's actually getting bigger as it moves out. So it's still circular. And in nature, because if you looked at that tornado from directly above, it would look like a disc. And basically, our solar system supposedly is in the shape of a disc, but it's basically a bunch of spirals that are all working out. That look like a disc is basically like a plate in your kitchen that you eat off of. There's it's like a hoop, or what's another one that you could use for? A disc, a hoop, a circle, also kind of like a frisbee shape, but a sphere in all actuality too. It's like, see, all right, let's say the body has this field around it, just like the Earth does, which this field is simultaneously going up, and it comes around in a dome around you, and half of that dome sinks back down into the earth, because what you're talking about here is energy. It can pass through solid things, and where your physical body, even though it's composed of these things, but for some reason the magnetic force in them is so strong that it's a blockage between just passing through freaking solid objects. But your energy, on the other hand, is constantly going in the earth. It's pulling stuff down from the air. It's like your breath is pulling down from your nose and your mouth into your guts. And then when you breathe it out, it's like pulling it back out and shooting it out and sending it out. And then fresh comes in. Old goes out, fresh comes in. Just like the earth too. Just like the roots of a tree. This water falls and it sinks into the ground. And the roots absorb it and push it back up, and it grows leaves on the trees, which absorb more sun that's coming and pulling it down. Okay, you see this big circle? Everything in life, there's many not everything in life, but a lot of things in life are related to this. A drop of water is spherical, but it's not necessarily symmetrical. But in some circumstances, it does kind of naturally form into a symmetrical shape that's spherical. It's like a soap bubble. But here's another thing. It's like, look, if you take it down to the very bottom, what is it? When you look at a cell with the microscope, it is a plate. It's a disc. I mean, I'm not sure if that's only just because of if it's actually a disc or if it is a actual spherical shape. I think molecules are spherical shape, but they're like a broken sphere, and it's like it's moving, it's in motion, but only time you can observe it stopped is when you're observing it and you take a picture. So it gets frozen for a second in time, it kind of stops and stands still, and then when you look away it goes back to moving again. Alright, so it's like when Jesus says, if you see me, you see the Father. You know what I'm saying? And he also is a replication of the Father. Now, how is that freaking possible? And I mean, in biology, it's like I seen this video where it said 500 years ago, somehow the Indians drew a diagram of cell division. And basically, listen, the first cell splits into two identical cells. So if a person that is split from that same cell in a way, they are one and the same, and yet there's two of them. You know what I'm saying? At the same time. And then each of those split, and those split, and those split, and then eventually it turns into a freaking living being. You know what I'm saying? So even there's part of creation in itself. If you, all you got to do is observe. Like I basically like when the things fertilizes the egg, and then there's a flash of light, and this one thing starts replicating and replicating and replicating, and then it just bang, spontaneously. There's this freaking living being there. That's another. That's what I heard the definition of Anishinaabe means is spontaneous human, which means he doesn't know exactly how it was done, but it's just like, and you're here, but it's not your own. You were. It's like you were put here, but you don't know how exactly or why exactly, but you were put here for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And it's like being, and it's also part of the character, man, of breaking out of thinking that it keeps you wondering. So I mean, therefore, it keeps you in a learnable state that you can learn things always and never think that you got it all figured out, because you can't even figure out exactly your own situation. It's a mystery to you. Like, but it's supposed to be. If you look at the scriptures, Isaiah says, greatest of man's thoughts is foolishness. And I mean, for instance, look at all the stuff they teach people and how prideful and arrogant they get when they've been taught and they got a piece of paper that says they've been taught this. How arrogant they get and how they know that this is the truth because they heard all these people, these famous people say, yeah, this is what the truth is. But then always we find out that's totally untrue. So I mean, it's like, man, dude, it's that, that's, and I find that principle in life also to be kind of true, that even though like everything happens for a reason, but somehow it still is all transpiring spontaneously. So it's crazy. It's kind of like predestination, but then again, not the way it sounds though. You know what I'm saying? It's weird how this works. And God says He's the one who created the circle of the earth. So there's a biblical reference to circle, and also in 2nd Ezra's, he describes the circle as the cycle of judgment too. And also it is like it's like if you made it's like, look, it's rising, falling, and then rising. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, it's a weird, it is kind of like a cycle of things going to a max, and then starting anew, fresh, and then it works its way back to another situation where everything's effed up and things are forward, and it's like it just it's kind of like that movie Apocalypto. Before a nation's conquered, first they're conquered from within. And how do you get conquered from within? Is like what I'm telling you here. If you have no understanding of these type of matters, you're already conquered from within. You know what I'm saying? Because something is hindering you from jumping to the more important information in life sometimes. Because I mean, it's like, yeah, it's cool to understand the simple things and take joy and pleasure in them, right? And have a merry heart. But look, you can't live all your time in that way. Unless, if you can know all these things and then still find that, well then, more power to you. But it's like, it's too crucial of a time though. You know what I'm saying? From my own experience, I'm living it right now. I'm seeing it. And you just you gotta know that for yourself, that it's a crucial time and it's no time to cheat yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, look, in order to not be deceived, that means you got to go and follow up leads for yourself and learn to make your own, you got to make up your own decision, your own mind, how to feel about the things that are important. Other stuff for now, it's like, I'll listen to what you're saying, and I'll ponder it and see in a season or two if what the fruit looks like of those type of subjects, you know, and if it looks like, man, no, that's corrupting, that's got evil fruit in it, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, cast that into the fire, cut that down. You know what I'm saying? But if good things come out of it, well, I'll be like, well, the fruit of that knowledge right there is good things, so that I'll hang on to. Once again, you know, it's like, and the prayers, once again, they like go up to heaven, and then power from upon high comes down, and it does its thing on the people that it falls on. You know what I'm saying? But eventually, it works its way back up in the cycle, the circular freaking pattern of rising and falling. And once again, it's like, look, there's each human has an electromagnetic field that is identical to the field of the earth. It's just it's real simple. Electromagnetic pattern is so easy to see. It's just a bunch of circles like this going around in a circle around someone, and they're all rising and falling, rising and falling. But there's like a separate one that's pulling from the bottom one down, and then there's one that's up that's pulling the things from down up at the same time, so they're both constantly churning, and that's called a dynamo, man. The constant flow of a current, of electromagnetic current that you can't see. I mean, but it's really weak. It's not strong enough where I'm like Magneto and I could go like this and crush the camera. But there is ways that you can learn. It's like your body's like hoses, man. And it's like at certain points, if you kink off 2 hoses or 3 or you know, you kink off enough hoses in your body, you know that all the blood is going to be like stuck inside of all your organs. You know what I'm saying? That's the theory behind it. Is like, look, you just got to know where your body's got these hoses. I mean, to know what that hose is like, look, have you ever sat on your leg and it went to sleep? In a way, theoretically, you pinched off a hose, a vein, an artery, and the lack of circulation in there for a minute made it have a little reaction. You know what I'm saying? So, in a real generic layman sense, that's the reason for the strange yoga-like things. But I mean, here's the thing about prayer and worship. See, here's one thing you can say about the Muslims is like they actually pray and worship more like Daniel did in the book of Daniel. It said he went 3 times a day and bowed himself to the ground while he looked out his window and prayed. So, but then again, you also got the Israelites bowing to the east, and that's doing like the Muslims did, because that meant they were worshiping the sun, okay? In that context, not everyone who bows to the east is worshiping the sun, but these guys were worshiping the sun. And, I mean, these guys really worship Satan, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because Allah is Satan, that Walid Shubat, and Walter Vate connections. And the sun is also a form of it's Satan, Lucifer, the dragon, the sun snake, the sun dragon. And you know, you see these guys. It's just weird because see, people now, because of the Muslims, they would think bowing to the ground is, oh, you must be a fucking terrorist. But no, that ain't true. That's what Daniel did. So that's really worship, means to prostrate yourself into the submission posture, which is just bow your head to the ground. You know what I'm saying? And because that's what they used to have to do to the kings. So, you know, hey, look, if you're worshiping God, who's the king of all, it's like why wouldn't you do that as well? If you do that for earthly kings, you can't do that for your heavenly Father and his son Jesus. You know, so once again, there's a cycle where we're so backwards that we don't know how to worship, but yet the servants of Satan do. It's a cycle where, you know what I'm saying? It's everything's backwards, and things got to be restored, man. It's like, because there's just too much contentions and not enough like true accountability on people's part to pursue these matters and figure them out.